Happy New Year, Mr. Peary. Meteorologist Wes Peary, 2026. What are you doing?
Happy New Year, Evan.
Oh, man. Can you believe 2026? We're in the midst of winter, and our weather's all over the place. Y'all too. It's been just absolutely wild, and even more wild on social media. I'm going to end up in the hospital, Wes. I'm telling you.
Anger, high blood pressure.
That's it right there. Yeah, the high blood pressure. But hey, new year, new hope, new outlook. And this is episode 31. We did 30 episodes in 2025. So that was a good launch point for us. We're the Weather Wise guys. Thanks for stopping by. We're occasionally wise, although we'll seem like geniuses after today, I'd imagine.
This stuff makes me feel like I'm a really good person and smarter than I probably am.
And that's the thing, too, is like, I feel like that's kind of the premise for those of you who are just like looking at this the first time because of the title and because of what this topic is. Like, we went to school together at Mississippi State. We have a background in meteorology. We're not too above the idea that we can be wrong. Like, we get it wrong, but we're willing to listen and learn. And there are some people out there who just want to put a bunch of crap out there and then like justify it, or we are not the smartest people. That's not why we do this. We just like to give perspective and hopefully educate people on something that's topical. A phenomenon. Wes had an awesome thing on the Northern Lights back in the fall. So that's the whole premise of this thing. And we just want to put out good info because there's so much nonsense. So much nonsense.
Well, and also in the same token that we are smart enough and we know this industry so well that we know when there are bad actors behaving and know when it's, people just maybe they think they know how to forecast. They're good at forecasting. And they're just really not. And they're learning and they're misforecasting. There are other times in which we know that certain people are smart and they know what they're doing and they're misleading people on purpose, not to inform them, but to just make money off of it.
So social media has changed this industry in such a mind altering way over the last 15 years or so. You think about 2010. What do we have? We have Facebook around. I don't think Instagram was here yet. Twitter was here, but you
Yeah.
still is that about right?
I think like Twitter was just coming up around 2010.
So we are, since the inception of social media, it has become the new way to ingest information, which is great, but also can be a very, very much hindering to people who need good information. This is not just weather; it's across the board. But Wes and I, both being broadcast meteorologists, I'm in Birmingham, Wes is in Kansas City. That's kind of what we go up against in certain weather scenarios. Is you have these people who post a very outrageous look. And people are ingesting this. They want to know the weather. They don't necessarily watch TV. A lot of people don't wait for a newscast anymore. And so they get misinformation, and that's what we're going to address today is maybe some tips on how to work through that, how to see what is ridiculous, and maybe you'll become a little bit of a forecaster too when we're all said and done.
Hope so. Because whenever I have friends that ask me for forecast questions constantly, I'm like, bro, this is a website you need to go to. Like, here are the models. You can figure it out. If this person on Facebook can post pictures of model runs, you can do even better than that. So this is a public service, and this is a therapy session for Evan and I as well that you will all be sitting through with us.
To be privy to, we'll keep it G-rated with language, but this is a therapy session, and you kind of nailed it. Anyone can grab it. So this is going to look like a school PowerPoint. It's not. I just want to get across some things that a lot of people don't know. Okay, there's a difference between model data that's deterministic, is what we call it, versus an ensemble. Okay, anybody has access to all of this stuff, and anybody can grab any run and just slap it up there. As a general rule of thumb, Wes, and you can tell me if you agree with this, I feel pretty dang good, days 1 through 3, sometimes out 5 days, depending on the season. Doesn't mean I'm always nailing the high temperature and low temperature or rain coverage, but I'm in that realm. 5 to 7, got a general idea of what's happening, but I look more at the pattern. Do we have a trough swinging in here? Is there a ridge with warmer temperatures? Is it, and that's with my background. I've watched weather my entire life, whether I was a kid and terrified of it or went to school and learned about it. I've observed it for a long time. And when you are constantly looking at weather, not just data, you pick up on patterns. And that's kind of what we look at, as a whole, but especially long term. And you kind of have to take things, you can see data, but then you have to interpret data. And that is something that does not happen very often.
Like the first 3 days of a 7 or 10 day forecast, we're trying to get it within 3 degrees.
Yep.
The first 3 to 5 days, especially closer to day 5, we're trying to get it around 3 to 4, 3 to 5 degrees. 5 to 7, or in my case, 7 to 10, we're trying to get it within 5 to 7 degrees because there's so much uncertainty the further you go out that it's just like it's impossible to get it within 1 to 3 consistently that far out. So that's
Yep.
that's my mindset whenever I'm going and I'm doing my 10 day and I'm at day 7 through 10. It's like, all right, we need to identify the trend and identify the possibilities of what could happen with this pattern as we get closer to it so that I'm within 5 to 7 degrees whenever we actually hit that day.
Yeah, and a lot of times what I'll do too is I'll look at the previous day. So I always write down, I've showed my forecast sheets before, but I will write down, whatever I forecast that day, and then I'll go look back at the previous, several days, what verified. And there'll be trends where, or periods of time where, maybe we're not getting as cool at night, or we're getting hotter in the afternoon than any model data suggests. So you got to take all that into consideration. There's so many little nuances to it, that you really do have to follow it. So that's what we do on kind of a day to day basis. And you're right, Wes. When we start to get further out, you're looking for patterns and understanding it, and we get it wrong. I'll get it wrong, and I'll be the first. I said it on the air. We have this really low cloud deck. It started as fog. We had a ceiling of about 800 feet. Okay, some of the skyscrapers downtown you couldn't see. Well, that never mixed out. So instead of being 70, we were 62 with drizzle all day. So, oops. But we are constantly watching this stuff in effort to really get it. And models, sure, they help, but the atmosphere is changing constantly. From the time we started this episode to right now, the atmosphere has changed everywhere around the world.
Just now, just changed.
Now,
Just
now. So the fact that it's always changing, you have to keep that in mind because it's not a still image. And you ever think about, and we talked a little bit about this with Grady Dixon, us a very, very smart meteorologist and researcher, how much technology we have now compared to even 25 years ago. The models, the history, everything that we have. I can't imagine what it would have been like to forecast 40, 50 years ago, even before, satellite data. You imagine?
yeah, I don't know what they're doing. I remember I have a colleague that's been doing this for about 30 years, and I think about 25 years ago they were getting die fax printouts
Die packs, that's it.
and
Those are
post
cool,
them
by
on
the
the
way.
wall and doing stuff like that. And then one of his colleagues back then was started his own private business to get satellite imagery on TV. And so I don't know how he was doing this, but he was getting satellite images and selling them to TV stations to then show it off. So yeah, we've gone so far. I mean, we went from looking at 2 or 3 weather models when we were first learning to forecast, and I probably look at least 5, depending on the day, closer to 10 different types of weather models. There's so much to choose from.
Yeah, absolutely. And the you can sometimes, I feel like, get perhaps too much data. There's times when I've
Oh yeah,
dove into it and I've been like, okay, hold on. I need to just take a deep breath and remember gut feelings are a real thing. You can absolutely take a step back and go, okay, this is this is what I think is going to happen. But from a standpoint, why don't you start? Like, what does your day look like when you go forecast? What's the first
yeah.
thing you do or the first thing you observe?
I'm usually incredibly like observant of what's happening with the day in general, just because I have a lot of writing on my forecast where I try to be as accurate as possible, and so I'm watching temperatures and sky conditions and satellite. But I mean, generally, you go from looking at the satellite looking at how the weather is flowing toward you and away from you with visible satellite imagery and radar and temperatures, and then you start to go into your forecast models and see, how those short-term ones play out, and then how the long-term weather models start to play out with your forecast as well. So, and I'm sure that is very similar. That's a very similar technique to how like all meteorologists do it. Is you look at what's happening right now, and then you figure out what's going to happen later as you go further out in time.
It's like playing out the tape. This is for those of you who don't know, this is probably the closest thing to like what you were saying at Difax. This is a surface
Yeah.
analysis chart. So right now, the system of note is just to your northeast, Wes. That surface low, the cold front, and so if you get the big picture, I always say have a wide lens, right, to understand what's happening, like in your specific area or what's coming to your area. Take a wide view, see what's happening everywhere. The atmosphere is like a river; it flows. So if you were standing at the edge of a river and there's a big old log, floating down the middle, eventually that's going to be right in front of you. We don't know how fast it's going to get there, or maybe we do. We don't know exactly what side of the river it's going to be on, but we know that that's coming. These synoptic systems work the same way. We see a low come out of the Rockies. We know with the flow of the jet stream, that's eventually going to be in our backyard. So, what is the impact going to be, and what parameters are in place to make that happen? At least that's a way that I like to look at it, because that kind of gives the big picture, and then you kind of narrow it down from there. And I love these. I think I've talked about this on here before. Remember these, Wes?
UTs. Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
this is what a weather balloon sends back. For those of you who have seen a weather balloon or are curious, this looks a lot more complicated than it is, and it actually is fairly complicated. But this is a snapshot of the atmosphere. This is actually the evening sounding from Birmingham. So the red is temperature, the green is moisture, and then the wind profile, those little barbs on the side. This tells us what's happening in an instant. By the time we get this data, all of this has changed. However, it gives us a snapshot into what the air above us is doing, what our atmospheric profile looks like, and it can be a building point. So I love soundings. I love to see. I use this sometimes when I get it wrong. I'll go back and look at the sounding and be like, what the heck happened?
Y'all gonna have severe weather sometime soon. That's decent shear there, buddy. That is
We are
decent
under
moisture as well.
we are under a slight risk tomorrow. However, look at that little notch there at about, what is that, about 8,000, 10,000 feet? That
Your inversion
inversion?
problem there.
Oh, yeah. So we will have almost no instability. In fact, I don't think we'll have any instability by the time the rain gets here. So there's a couple other things too. Is you got to look at, me and Wes live in different parts of the country. Okay, we have different factors that influence what happens here. The rules of forecasting do not apply, in a uniform sense. The way that a frontal boundary interacts with Gulf moisture here versus in Kansas City is going to be different. There's just different features. So yes, well, Wes, at a quick glance, we do have some speed shear that's going to be coming through here tomorrow, but we will have no instability, and we will have a low level jet that will not overlap with the best ingredients or a line of thunderstorms. Therefore, I've kind of dispelled a severe weather threat. But I can tell you this, if there is one and I get it wrong, we're going to have something to talk about on the next episode. But in this particular instance, I looked at what's known as a high res model. Okay. So these are going to show you on a much, much more localized scale where rain's going to be, where different parameters for severe weather are. It's going to time this out hour by hour versus 6 hour increments. So these short-term models are great, and this is partially why, like Wes said, we're much better in the short term, because there's more data. These models have initialized, and we can use this as a resource in the 0 to 48 hour window. And then a little bit beyond that, we still use these deterministic models, but those run multiple times a day, and those can change run to run.
I look at a lot of deterministic models, even for the first 48 hours. And by the way, I guess a little bit of explanation here. Deterministic models are like GFS, Euro. Those are deterministic. Your high resolution or your high res models are like the NAM, the HER, the RRFS. Um, the so they're made to do different things, but they all can be kind of useful in their own way. But
Yeah.
your high resolution models, in terms of like the NAM and the HER, the HRRR, will stop at like 48 to 60 hours,
Sorry, I should
and
have had
then you
this in
go.
there. But yeah, you're right there, Wes. This is just I just grabbed it. We use Weatherbell. I'm sure Wes you do too, and they
Yeah,
have just a litany of products. But here's a basic one. Anyone can access this. This is a great one. College of DuPage, and I believe in Illinois. But you can see these short range models. Okay, so this is going to show you pick a sector, and then look at all these parameters on the side. You can pick through a litany of things that help us kind of forecast over a shorter period of time, and look at the higher resolution. So that's going to depict a squall line coming through. That's going to show more like the individual, and that can help us really narrow it down versus something that's long term, like see these long range here. That's when you're looking at lower resolution, and that's way down the road. So we'll grab those for that 4, 5, 6, 7 day, and kind of get a gauge for what's happening, not the specific temperature or the specific condition at noon next Friday, but something like that.
website I told my buddy to go to, the one that was asking me a lot about weather. I'm like, here you go. You can go to this website, click on the HRRR, and just go to simulated radar and just have fun.
What
Just
do you call the HRRR?
the her.
I call it the herd too. When people say HRRR, I'm like, what are you doing? That's way too many. That's a mouthful. Don't do that.
The H trip, the HRRR. Yeah, the her.
Did you hear about it?
The Rufus, RFS, the Rufus. I'm sure that'll be the next one we hear about.
Probably.
And
So
then we do ensembles, which are just like a bunch of like 50 different outcomes, all averaged out into one. And this is where you can start to run into people posting ridiculous stuff.
this is it. You're absolutely nailed it. This is the dividing line between good data, or at least semi-accurate data, to crap. The models Wes was just talking about, GFS, the European model, the Canadian Icon, they all run 4 times a day. I think they all run 4 times a day.
Yeah.
And each run can be different. They initialize differently, they give you different data. As Wes said, an ensemble, it's a group. The Euro, there's 51 different members initializing with different variables, and it gives you an average out of a pattern or a setup or an amount of precipitation. That is for long term. And understand, outside of 10 days, you're throwing it at a dartboard. Okay, you can tell ridge trough, maybe hot cold, but that is what you need to look at, not the model crap that people are putting out there. Because one model will say we're getting a blizzard in Alabama, the next one says it's going to be 42 and sunny. Like, that's what gets me.
Something that I get a lot about models is like, well, what makes your weather models different? Like, if they're all just doing a bunch of math, why do you get different answers? And the example I give is like, all right, well, if you're making pizza dough, like, isn't pizza dough the same, like several ingredients, but you can get vastly different type of pizza dough based on how you prepare it, how you rise. And so they're just small things within the model, called the model physics, and how the data is taken in, and then how they interpolate the data and all this fun stuff that makes weather models different based on what brand essentially that you have.
That's an awesome analogy. It really is. I couldn't make pizza as well as you based off of what you just said. So we start with the same ingredients. You're probably going to have one that people are satisfied with, whereas people will
I don't
never
know.
come to my restaurant again.
I don't know about that. I've literally never made pizza dough in my life, so
Oh, okay. Well, it was a good analogy. Here, okay. Here's another thing to point out. Models go out insanely far. You see this? You see that number, Wes? That's not.
360 hours.
That is 360 hours from when that model ran. So what? How many
Is it
360?
14 days?
So
Is it?
14 days.
I think it's four. I think it's 14. It's 240 is 10.
Okay, so this is somewhere between 10 and 15.
I'm doing
Um,
math real quick.
this is something you
360.
need to look for, unless people block it. When you look at data, look at how far out it is.
It's
And
15 days.
15 days. Let me tell you, 15 days, you can look at maybe a pattern, maybe an overall setup that you've had, but there is no stinking way you can depict some of the stuff that people are depicting. And it drives me nuts. So this is the exact same time, Wes.
Mhm.
Different run. I mean, what this is a massive trough, an insanely strong, jet stream, jet streak over here, and okay,
The only way that that's useful is if you didn't look at three more runs and they all generally have a trough, and you're like, okay, there might be a trough on this day.
and you just nailed it. You have to consistently look at it, and that's the problem. Is people are seeing this once and throwing out the solution that they want, and it's just you know what are we gonna do? You got people just want to share that stuff, and here is a frequent offender of this.
Dude, this is actually new to me. Is that picking just an
One,
ensemble member?
one.
Yeah.
This had me just nuts. So obviously I'm on the periphery of 7 to 15 inches. Let me just tell you, there's
Just one
no
one of
there's
51 possibilities from that one model.
and he puts 1 of 51. And you know why he did this? Because it's the most crazy outlier. Do you know why it's an ensemble? Because it initializes with all these parameters to give a good average. You can't. I mean, that's insane. 15 inches of snow up in Nashville, Knoxville. I mean, 7 in northern Alabama. Don't get me wrong. We've had that, and it's possible. It's not happening. So this is what he posted. This is what the models are now showing um, for the exact same time. You can see the 20th. We've got, and I still don't necessarily buy this at all. Half inch is what's showing up there, but this type of irresponsible stuff just absolutely kills me because I'll get screenshots of these in messages, and I'm like, what, what? I
Let
mean,
me let me add some context here. An ensemble model is a collection of like 50. We kind of already like went over this. But what happens is each member is maybe hotter or colder, wetter, drier. Something has changed 51 different times, and then they run them together. They find the mean, like what Evan said. And the mean is what you use. Like, okay, if something is occurring more oftentimes than not, that gives you confidence that a certain outcome will actually happen in the future. So that means number 19 here, I assume like was given a lot of extra cold air at some point in its model initialization, and it just met that with moisture coming out of the Gulf, and it gave the Southeast a blizzard.
so if you think about it, it's probably initializing this way because I can tell you, Wes, we've had 3 separate very cold snaps so far this winter. 3 very strong troughs that have come in 3 separate times where we've dipped into the teens. So for it to initialize with these parameters, it makes sense, but it's 1 of 51. And that's what is missed on people, and why when you see this, it's just misinformation. Here's another one that he put out there. You see that? Can you see the snow
That
total
Kuchera
in
and the
Auburn,
one.
Alabama?
I thought that was a Kuchera snowfall where we had our 520A extended ensemble.
If you ever see
Yeah.
528, garbage. Easy identifiers, just look how far out it is. And if you're looking for another easy tell, look for a stupid looking page like this. Ridiculous.
I bet Snowbird Bob has got making a lot of money.
No,
That's
probably.
the overall arching thing here is that I think a lot of these pages here work under the guise of trying to keep you informed and trying to keep you ahead of the local meteorologist or the National Weather Service when like in reality they're just wanting to make money off you. Like that's it. And if they help you out along the way, that's just extra. Look at me when I tell you this. They're making money off of you. They don't care.
And They don't. And the shares and everything else. And so the way, and you said it earlier, Wes, I've always seen this business as a public service. Okay. It was hammered into me by the first person I interned under, Glenn Burns, by James Spann, by David Paul. He's chief meteorologist at Oath. And our job is to accurately pass on information. Do we get it wrong? Yes, we do, but we come by it honestly. We're not irresponsibly putting stuff out there. And this is my biggest concern with where we're headed. Not to be a get off my lawn guy, but people who are posting all of this stuff, like I post stuff all the time. It's not hyperbolic, it's just straightforward, it's what's going to happen. And I'm usually right or within the realm of something reasonable. But my stuff doesn't get shares, not close. These inaccurate forecasts that have something insane, 250 shares, hundreds of thousands of likes. And if that many people are being inundated with this information that doesn't end up verifying, who's to say that then when there's an actual threat, there's something of actual concern, that they're going to believe it? It's the old children's book or whatever, cried wolf. I don't, the thing. But if
Red Wolf.
with every frontal system there's going to be severe weather and it never verifies, well, why would you still listen to me? Why would you trust anything I'm telling you? And that's what's getting lost in this. And it's sadly it's coming into people who are like us, went to school for it, are starting to do this as well. And that's what really is sad and really just bums me out about the whole thing.
At first, people were doing this on social media for attention. Like, because very much like it is. Like if you have a social media post that blows up, like you feel good because you're getting attention. Like that is like human nature, and it's impossible to ignore and to get around. But now that, I mean, especially Facebook, now that Facebook is monetizing posts and people are interested in weather, it's become an even more powerful, like, I don't know if it's classified or you could compare this as an addiction, but I think it's making a lot of meteorologists, maybe not a lot, many meteorologists in our industry stray away from like the good values. Like, it's not like we took an oath, it's not like we took the Hippocratic oath before we became meteorologists and said we're only going to do good. There's still plenty of doctors that like could probably talk about the same problems in their field that we're dealing with in our field. But
I
money is changing people.
I see it as, when you become a journalist, you have an ethical responsibility to tell the story truthfully, not take a side. I take this very seriously. You have an obligation, and obviously when it's sunny and 84, okay, whatever. You don't need us necessarily. But when it comes to the livelihood of people, and I'm getting messages from folks who live in a trailer, and there's a threat of severe weather, or there's not a threat of severe weather. I want them to be able to trust me because I've put out good information. I want them to have a source. It doesn't have to be me. I'll go to these events, and Wes, you do too, where we give out weather radios, or we go work a YMCA camp, or we go to a senior center, and some people have no idea who I am. That's fine. They'll say, "Oh, I watch this station." I'm like, "Great. Have a way to be informed. We just want you to know what's coming and take action." Well, if now professional people in our business start to put out stuff that's not, I mean, that really, really hurts us. But I, I absolutely believe in putting out accurate information, not putting out loud headlines, and not putting something that is scary. Weather is scary enough for people. That's why I got into this business. I was terrified of weather as a kid. If I heard a rumble of thunder, that's it, under the bed. That's it. I'm done. The storm's coming to kill Evan. And I looked to that guy on TV, that guy in the Weather Channel, that guy in local news, because I wanted him to tell me it was going to be okay. And I trusted him. And I want people to see that in our position when weather's coming through. I want them to say, okay, I'm watching this guy, I'm listening to him. Let's get to our safe place or do what we need to and move on. Not he's screaming from the rooftops and nothing happened.
Rage. My turn to share. I'm with you on that. All right, here we go. The good old snow totals. The good
I
old
remember this.
hour 384 hour. This is coming from someone that is a chief meteorologist,
Chief.
um, and
Chief.
actually teaches a meteorology course in college. Okay. Okay. See, you can see where the snow is. The snow is all over the mountains, and then we'll go to what actually happened eventually. As soon as I
This
get there,
this
I'm
one
going.
made my blood boil a little bit. And you know what? People who like snow, which is a lot of us in the South, growing up in Georgia, we'd be all over this. So people get excited, and you're taking advantage of that.
I mean, that's the biggest thing. It's like you're getting people in the Southeast, yeah, that are freaking out. And then this is what actually happened. You're much smoother at this than I am. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's why I typically produce one little tidbit while you're loading this. Model data is not an answer key. It is absolutely not an answer key. It is a resource that you use, and then our job, excuse me, is to use the knowledge we have of weather and the atmosphere and interpret that to give you a forecast. So there you go.
All right, so last picture, insane amount of snow in the mountains. What actually happened
Oh my God.
was absolutely nothing. And just again for comparison, as I go through this again, as I am a 60-year-old man teaching a college course. There it is. That's what it was supposed to be right there. Supposed to be 8 to 12 inches with a foot or more of snow up into Ohio, and that simply did not happen.
The pattern is turning very active, he said at the end of that. And you know what? It got a little colder. Guess what? We were headed into winter. No
With thought,
kidding. It's
with
okay.
thought.
It is okay. Some frontal boundaries don't have severe weather. Some systems that move through don't have a blizzard. Not everything has super significant, impactful weather. You don't have to hyperbolize it. Just tell what's going to happen. Just say it. You don't have to make something into what it's not. And Wes, I'm telling you, if Mississippi State has a symposium this year, I'm going to
They
submit
do. They
that.
actually just announced it.
Okay, I looked for it back in December and I didn't see one. So I would like to go there and have
Okay.
our thing in a much nicer and calmer way be about this. Come into this business and be honest. Do not come into this and add to the nonsense that has become weather. I mean, people make a mockery out of weather. People say, "Oh, you get paid to be wrong,"
I love lamp. Yeah.
and that's funny. I just roll with it. That's fine. But when people really are, oh, I remember this one too,
Oh,
locked in,
keep going. Keep going.
locked in. But
I didn't mean to cut you off. Keep going.
no, it's we're gonna go and hopefully reach people because I hope, Wes, that the kids that are in school now get into this to do it honestly. That the meteorologists at the National Weather Service, who are great by the way, and the
Mhm.
Storm Prediction Center and the Weather Prediction Center, all the folks at NOAA, they get into this to do it right, not to get attention. Your
All
turn.
right. So, well, I am totally in agreement with you. And I think most meteorologists do, but now it's the bad apples that are just really sticking out, and I hope they turn sweet again. Okay, so this is a picture of the stratosphere. Okay, so this is above where weather happens. This is the stratosphere. Winter pattern locked in through December 15th at least. Active snow threats. So essentially, this looks like there's a giant either area of cold or a snowstorm coming through. Okay, but when I go and I look at what the actual temperature was during that exact same model run, it is a solid 20 degrees above average over the exact same spot, right? Okay, so cold area, but where the weather's actually happening, it's actually incredibly warm.
And that's what he knew what he was doing. He did that on purpose.
And it's at
And
yes, it's at that point when I'm like, this person who likely makes a lot of money on Facebook knows full well what he's doing and is intentionally misleading people just to make money.
and it's just such a disappointment. Now, to be for people who are still learning about weather, there can be a correlation between what's happening in the stratosphere and how the troposphere below is behaving, but you got to use it correctly. And if you're looking for anomalies or changes in surface temperature, you've got to look at the atmosphere that we're in, the level of the atmosphere that we're in. And sometimes it's just a sign. You look at higher atmospheric heights or you look at the temperature in the mid levels and you can say, okay, we're this warm, 5,000 feet above the surface. That means we're probably going to warm more readily throughout the day. How about, oh, we're above average in the stratosphere and we're going to have da 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 da. There's got to be proper interpretation of this stuff. Because again,
Stratosphere will do the opposite of the troposphere. That's what it, like when you go through a stratospheric warming event, that's a way of saying, oh, the column of the stratosphere is expanding because it's warmer, right? The thermal, not thermal wind equation,
Hypsometric?
hip, hypsometric equation. So if your stratosphere is getting colder, that means the column is expanding because the air underneath it is warmer.
Mhm. It's pushing up. So our sounding the other day in Birmingham, that what I showed earlier, the top of the troposphere here over Alabama was about 47,000 feet. Okay, we're in winter now. In the summertime, we can be over 50,000 feet, sometimes 52,000 feet. It's for the exact reason you were talking about. Warm air expands, so it pushes up against the atmosphere. Okay, so it's
Hmm.
pushing the troposphere higher, which in turn kind of squeezes the stratosphere. So, as long as you know the ins and outs of it, you can look at these different things, upper level patterns, and you can use them, and they can be very telling. But when you do that sort of nonsense, you not only lie to people, you're going to put Evan in an early grave. I'm telling you, man, just just nonsense. So,
And Evan and I have more examples. We could probably go on for like a solid hour
yeah,
on this.
we could.
And there are like weather weenie pages, I mean that with as much respect as possible, that try to make their own forecasts based on long range models, and they're just not good at it, and they put stuff out and it's just bad and it doesn't hit. And like I'm less bothered by that
Yeah,
than people that are just blatantly liars.
you know, the other thing too, and as we kind of like put a bow on this, it's okay to not be the first one to put something out. There will be times when I'm told by certain people, like, "Hey, how come you're not talking about this yet? Other people are." I said, "Well, because I don't buy it yet." He goes, "Well, people are talking about it." I said, "Okay, I'm going to give it some time before I start telling people we're going to have this happen." It's okay to wait. People are so anxious to get information out and say what's coming that they don't give it time to breathe, don't give it time to materialize. And it is okay to wait. I go out, I have 10 days on my forecast sheet. I will use days 10, 11, and 12. Sometimes I'll go to 14. I'll look at the NBM, the National Blend of Models, because it's taking a lot of data and kind of putting the average of it. And you know what that tells me? If there's going to be a big cool down, big warm up, or if we're staying about the same. And as we get closer, I start to hone in on the details. I'm not trying to be the first one to figure out what's happening next week. I want to be the first one to have it accurately and give off information that's actually viable. And to the point where, my 7 day forecast is not giving people whiplash because one day I've got it at 73, the next I got it at 46. You just, yeah. So honesty is
If you come
important.
ac- if you come across any misleading meteorological posts, send them to us.
Yeah. It's,
We'd love to.
I think there's going to be a pivot eventually where we clean this up at least with professional meteorologists. We just tell you out there, know what to look for. Clickbait makes money, as you mentioned. So look for a couple of the identifiers we had. If you want to check it out, it's all public. You can go on to websites and check out ensembles for yourself. Or you can find people who won't blow smoke like Wes and I, and get some accurate Kansas City and Alabama weather.
Don't trust a snowfall forecast. I mean, I don't really do it more than 3 days out. Certainly don't trust a snowfall forecast more than 5 days out.
I will tell you, I suck at snow
Easy.
forecasting. I'm pretty
That's
good at a
okay.
lot of things. I'm not going to lie to you about snow forecasting. I reach out to people. I can forecast it. Don't get me wrong, but as far as specifics and when it comes to livelihood down here, I usually I'll get I'll talk to James. He's done this forever. He knows more than I do. I'll talk to David. I'll talk to other people I know and say, hey, here's what I'm looking at. Can you help me? And that's okay. Like we're always learning, and if you accept that and you keep learning, you'll probably get better each and every time. Versus you put out something stupid, you actually believe it, and then when it doesn't happen, did you learn anything? No. Here you go, posting it again.
I wanted to turn this into a weekly segment, and maybe we still can. We'll just blur out the names.
We can do what did you call? Didn't you call it something like worst I've seen or
The misleading meteorologist of the month.
that's it? Misleading meteorologist of the month. I had a couple ideas I jotted down for the name of this episode because I thought it would be kind of funny. These actually came to my mind while I was working out, which I've been using the fuel of this frustration to go exercise. Um, let's see, what did I have here? Misleading meteorology, social media gone rogue. I think I had more, but I
All right.
forgot to type them out.
Those will be good.
We'll think of something, snappy, but there's problems in every business. There's highs and lows, and it can just be frustrating when you're trying to do what you believe in. And what I know, this is why me and Wes started this. We have the same mentality when it comes to this business and what we do. And to put something out there that's just honest, straightforward conversation. That's what we want to do. And if you click on us, great. If not, come on over. But
Yeah.
it's
We won't scare you. We'll shoot you straight.
sure. You can comment, interact. I love when people reach out and say, "Hey, I like this." The talking about pizza that you did, I forget which one. You asked about the best pizza in Mississippi. That got a lot of
Yeah.
great feedback.
Yeah. It's crazy, dude.
My uncle in Michigan said, "Dude, the pizza stuff had me laughing." I'm like, "Did you listen to anything else?" I was like, whatever. If you had a good takeaway, that's great. So, we're the weather wise guys. We try to do stuff in a wise way. We're always learning. We bring on people who are smarter than us, so hopefully you can learn something too. And just be aware of what you're looking at. Severe weather season is around the corner, and we don't want people to be misled. Just want people to be informed properly.
See you next week or the next time we manage to record.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great start to the new year. Appreciate y'all tuning in. If you want us to talk about something, shoot a message. You can comment underneath. If you don't like us, that's fine too. But we'll keep doing it because we love doing this. So y'all be safe. Have a good week. Look out for the